All right, let's talk about SCIM. That's SCIM. It stands for the System for Cross-Domain Identity Management, and it's one of those amazing technologies that works completely behind the scenes. It's kind of like the unsung hero, the silent engine that makes our modern, app-filled work lives actually work. I mean, we've all been there, haven't we? It's your first day, you're excited, you're ready to dive in, but you can't get into anything. You're stuck in this digital purgatory waiting for IT. Or maybe the flip side, you've left a company and you get that weird feeling in your stomach. Hey, is my old account still active? Can I still get in? That friction, that uncertainty, that's exactly the problem SCIM is built to eliminate. You know, when you really boil it down, secure access to anything online comes down to these two simple questions. First, the system has to know who you are, right? It needs to prove your identity. But that's just step one. Once you're in the door, it has to know what you're actually allowed to do. What rooms can you enter? What files can you see? To really get why this is a big deal, just picture an IC admin's life without automation. A new person starts. That admin has to manually create an account for them in Salesforce, then in Slack, then Google Workspace, on and on for maybe dozens of apps. And it's not a one-time thing. That person gets a promotion and all their permissions have to be updated. Then they leave and every single one of those accounts has to be found and deleted. It is an absolute nightmare, and it just doesn't work when you've got hundreds or thousands of employees. And if you think this is some small niche problem, think again. The market for tools that manage all this stuff, including SCIM, is on track to be worth nearly $10 billion by 2030. A number that big tells you one thing. This is a massive, critical challenge for pretty much every company out there. So to actually fix this nightmare, we have to pull apart those two questions we talked about earlier. We have to draw a really clear line between authentication, which is all about proving who you are, and provisioning, which is about giving you the right access and taking it away. I love this analogy because it makes it all click. Think of single sign-on, or SAML, as the key to the front door of your office building. It checks your ID, confirms you work there, and lets you in. Great. But once you're inside, you still need keys to your office, to the server room, to the supply closet. That's SIM. SIM is the automated keymaster who lives inside the building. The second you're hired, it zaps the right keys onto your keychain. The second you leave, it zaps them right off, instantly. So let's just nail this down. Authentication is purely about verification. It's the digital bouncer checking your ID at the door. That's what things like single sign-on do. It just answers one question. Is this person who they say they are? Yes or no? Provisioning, on the other hand, is the whole shebang. It's the entire life cycle of your digital identity at a company. It's the creation of your accounts, it's the updates when your role changes, and it's the deletion when you're gone. And SIM's entire purpose in life is to put that whole process on autopilot. Okay, so we get what it does, but how does this keymaster actually perform its magic? Well, at its core, SIM is a standard. It's a protocol. Think of it like a universal language, a translator that lets all these different systems, your HR software, your identity provider, and all your apps talk to each other about users without any misunderstandings. And it works in this beautiful three-step automated dance. First, something changes in the main source of truth, usually the HR system. A new employee is added. Second, the identity provider, a tool like Okta or Microsoft Entra ID, sees that change and fires off a standardized SIM message. And third, the app on the other end, say it's Salesforce, gets that message and just does what it's told. Create the account, update the permissions. All of it happens in seconds with zero humans involved. And what does that message look like? Well, under the hood, it's something like this. Now, don't worry, you don't need to read the code, but you can see the gist of it, right? It's just a simple, clear instruction. It literally says, hey, create a new user, their username is B. Jensen, and their name is Barbara Jensen. That's it. A simple, standardized command that any system that speaks SCIM can understand. Now, making IT's life easier is great and all, but this kind of automation is also a really big deal for a much bigger reason: modern cybersecurity. Specifically, it's a cornerstone of a security philosophy called zero trust. Okay, so here's the official, kind of wordy definition from NIST, but let me just translate that for you. The core idea of zero trust is dead simple. Never trust, always verify. You assume that your network is already compromised, so you have to check and validate every single request for access every single time from everyone. And as you can see, this isn't just a theory. Major organizations are making this a huge priority. But here's the catch, the crucial point. How can you possibly enforce never trust, always verify if your user permissions are stale? What if someone left the company last week but their account is still active? The answer is you can't. That's why SCIM is so vital. Its ability to instantly revoke access isn't just a convenience, it's essential for a zero-trust strategy to have any hope of working. So, SCIM sounds pretty perfect, doesn't it? A universal standard that solves a huge problem. Well, you knew there was a but coming, right? In the real world, things are a little more complicated. Just because something is called a standard doesn't mean everyone follows the rules in exactly the same way. And this leads us to the biggest headache for developers building with SCIM: data fragmentation. What that means is that different big identity providers, the systems sending the SCIM commands, can interpret the rulebook a little differently. They might handle user details or groups or even something as simple as making a user inactive in their own unique way. And here's a perfect example. Look at how two of the biggest players out there, Okta and Microsoft, handled deactivating a user. When someone leaves, Okta sends a command that basically says, hey, change this user's status to inactive. This keeps the user's record around. But Microsoft system sends a command that says, delete this user entirely. See the issue? Same goal, get rid of access, but two totally different methods. Now imagine you're the app developer who has to build a system that can correctly interpret both. It gets complex fast. And the fun doesn't stop there. Developers have to worry about other real-world problems. Like what happens when a company onboards 1,000 new hires on the same day? The system gets hit with a massive flood of requests. Or what about weird timing issues, like a user getting added to a group and removed from it in the same millisecond? And on top of all that, SCIM is mostly a push system. There's no standard way for an app to just ask, hey, can you give me a full list of all your users so I can make sure we're in sync? But look, even with all those complexities, the value that SCIM brings to the table is just undeniable. When it's set up right, it truly is the automated gatekeeper for your entire cloud setup. It brings a sense of order to what would otherwise be total chaos. So when you put it all together, the benefits are just crystal clear. For security, it's a game changer. No more zombie accounts floating around. For you, the employee, it means you get what you need on day one, no waiting. For the IT team, it's a lifesaver that frees them from tedious manual work. And for the whole business, it just makes everything more efficient. So I'll leave you with this final thought. The next time you get access to a new work app and it just happens instantly, without you even asking, you'll know that there's an automated keymaster, SCIM, working silently in the background. But if you're still waiting around for days, filing tickets, and chasing people down for access, it really makes you wonder, who's still turning all of those keys by hand?